Welcome to the Super Sentai Brothers. This is episode 44 of Licensed to Carranger, the internet's best and only podcast dedicated to Gekisou Sentai Carranger. Every week we watch an episode of the show and we share our thoughts with you, the listener. My name is Matt J. With me as always is my co-host and brother Dave. Dave, how you doing today?
Doing pretty well, man. So it's Sunday, and I have tomorrow off. It's President's Day.
Me too.
Yeah, here's the crazy thing. I had actually forgotten that I had President's Day off. Because, okay, I know like a lot of people have President's Day off, but in my district, we have a number of Jewish holidays off, like really early on in the beginning of the year, which is a holdover from when the district was like 85% Jewish, so like nobody was showing up anyways. And so, which is not the case anymore. I think I've talked about this. Like now the school is like 80% African American, but they all know the Jewish holidays.
Yeah.
So anyways, I thought that President's Day was one of the days that like, oh, well, like you had Yom Kippur off, so like you don't get President's Day, and it's not, and I do have it off, and I didn't realize that until Thursday when they made an announcement at the school, like, hey, everyone, remember, no school on Monday, and I was in the teacher lounge, and I like looked up, and I said, wait, what? We don't have, and everybody looked at me like I was a crazy person, which is fair.
Dave, I actually weirdly had I was not sitting in a teacher lounge rather, but I had a very similar circumstance where I walked into work on Thursday and I looked over at like this like TV bulletin board thing we have that like cycles through like office announcements and said like, don't forget, we're closed on Monday. I was like, why would we be closed on Monday?
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, over the last 3 years, it's, I think, been really easy to forget about President's Day. But President's Day is about the good ones.
Yeah.
So, that's exciting.
Anyway, Dave, you know what else is exciting? Is that today we are watching and talking about episode 44 of Gekisou Sentai Carranger. It is called The Persistently Wacky Gekisou Chase. But of course, before we get into that, shining in the heavens, there are 5 stars. Would you like to hear what our first star of the week is?
Yeah, Matt, I sure would.
Dave, our first star of the week is that, it is related. The first star of the week is not exactly that our sister is coming to town, because she's not in Cleveland yet. It is related to the fact that she is coming to town, because here's the thing that happens, or has happened a number of times in the last few years, is that when our sister Katie is living overseas, she is not always able to get home for Christmas because, distance.
Actually,
and
most
money.
of the time she does not. Most of the time she does not get home for Christmas.
Yeah, especially since she's been in Japan. When she was in other places, it was sort of like hit or miss. But it's been very difficult for her to get home. Well, not difficult, but like super expensive, so we don't worry about it. From Japan to America for Christmas proper. But it's pretty affordable for her to get home around February. So in February, mid-February, we do she comes to town for a couple of weeks, and then at some point in there, we do wave 2 of Christmas, right?
Yes.
Which is a blast.
It is. It's tons of fun. You kind of loop back around, and it's a much more condensed affair because it only it's not like a spider web where everybody's giving presents to everybody. It's like everybody gives presents to Katie, and then Katie gives presents to everybody else, and that's it.
Right.
There's only one.
It takes an hour and a half.
Yeah, that's great.
But it's very nice. But Dave, here's the thing. I was done with my Christmas shopping, but my Christmas shopping did not include buying something.
It's not done with you, buddy.
Right, it did not include buying something for Katie, because Katie wasn't going to be here for Christmas, so I wasn't stressed about it. But then I got a text this morning that was like, hey, here's the phone number you can reach me at in the States, and I think she might be in the States now.
Yeah, she is. She landed Thursday.
Yeah.
She's with mom and dad.
Yeah, so now she is on the same continent, and it has become very clear to me that I need to buy her a Christmas present, immediately, and I have no idea what to do about it.
Well, Matt, if it makes you feel any better, I got a message from Katie earlier today saying, hey, do you have any good ideas for a Christmas present for Matt? So you guys are in the same boat. And I said, I do. I have one really good idea, and I was saving it for his birthday. But if you can't think of anything, I will let you use it because you're my sister and I love you, but I do have one idea.
All right. Okay. Well, that's good for me at least. What's not good for me is that I have no ideas for her. Because, like, what do you buy somebody who then needs to, like, get on a plane and fly back to Japan?
That is a little bit, that's proven to be difficult in previous years.
It's not like,
because
I'm going to buy you something, and then I'll just keep it here for a couple of years, or indefinitely. Who knows if when
forever.
You're coming back.
Who knows?
Anyway, Dave, that's my first star of the week, is that, like, Christmas shopping panic is rearing its ugly head again. What is our second star of the week?
So our second star of the week, Matt, is actually a baby watch.
We interrupt your regular broadcast of the Super Sentai Brothers to bring you a breaking news update.
Baby watch. And I gotta say, I hadn't gotten around to listening to the whole thing. I just listened to the first few minutes of the Super Sentai Buddies that Mark and Ivy had done. And when they dropped the baby watch, I was like, Mark, you've got to be, that is the coldest way to tell your friends, like, amazing, but also, like, kind of bonkers. And then he immediately was like, no, do not worry about it. Like, we are not having a baby. And I was like, okay, that makes a lot more sense. Anyways, so here is I hesitate to say this because I don't want Mark to feel compelled to make a new stinger. And also, Baby Watch is, I think, my favorite stinger that we have. So here is a crazy thing. The twins are not quite 3.5 now, and they have been sleeping in, like, on, like, little kid mattresses on the floor in our room. And we started doing that because our house is old and it's not air conditioned, and so we only had one air conditioner, and it was hot in their room, and they were just doing really well with it, like, developmentally. Like, it was very helpful for them to be able to sort of, like, wake up and just, we were right there, because they're foster kids, and they've got some troubles to that way. So anyways, Beth had Buddy Bear, and he was sitting in bed, and he was like, hey, why I have a little bed? And Beth said, well, because you're kind of a little kid. And he said, I'm not so little, though. I should have a big kid bed. And Beth was like, oh, wow, well, okay, all right. And she said, would you have it here? And he said, no, I should have own room, which is wild because this is not something that he is like, he doesn't have like kids that he has like compared notes with, right? Like he doesn't go to other kids' houses. Not that like he plays with other kids, but like it's like he's gone to other kids' houses and seen that they have their own rooms and then like put together like, oh, I should also like this is just kind of ex nihilo.
Well, I mean, the two of them did have their own room before they moved into your room.
Yeah, they did. And technically we have like maintained, because we are legally required to, like we have maintained a room that is exclusively theirs. It's fuzzy. Anyways, and so they were like, okay, well, I guess you're going to have your own room. So Beth set this room up, and it is, I'm like giddy with freedom about it. It's wild because we just say like, we finished it on like Thursday, I want to say. And we've just said like, okay, like you can just go play in your room, and it's like kid proofed, and they've got a couple of toys up there, and they are so stoked about the new freedom that they have to just be upstairs by themselves, like playing in their room. They just want to be up there all the time. And Beth and I are just like downstairs having a cup of coffee, talking to each other like adults. And they're just bouncing around in their beds. It's it's amazing.
that is...
it's a quantum leap. It's incredible, Matt. And then also, they were kind of going up and down the stairs so much, and the gate that's on the bottom of the stairs has only in recent months been a sort of like a suggestive gate, because they're very capable of just sort of like not jumping, but like sort of clambering over it.
Sure, the gate is there so that they are reminded that they are supposed to respect the fact that there's a gate there.
Yeah, precisely. And so, but they were just we were like, well, you're allowed to be up in your room. So we took the gate down. So there's no gate on the stairs anymore. And like, I keep reaching for it. And it's wild, man, that they're just so Like, they're just growing up in, like, a really crazy way. Like, they're up in their room, like, playing with toys, and there's no gate on the stairs. And, you know, it's just pretty nuts.
Man, that is wild, because on one hand, of course at some point they're going to, like, have a bedroom where they hang out in and play with their toys, and there isn't going to be a gate on the stairwell.
Yeah, of course.
But for the first 3.5 years... that is 100% not the case, and you forget that at some point that will actually happen.
Yes, yeah, precisely. There's a lot of stuff. I think there's a lot of stuff like that.
It's like when you're in prison, you know that your term, like your sentence does have an ending, but it's hard to remember when it's coming.
Yeah, that probably is a pretty good analogy.
I've never been to prison. I've
never been to prison, but yeah, it is. It's really wild that like
people
you
make
just
scratches on the walls, right? That happens in real prison.
Yeah, you just like you get so accustomed to this thing, and like, oh yeah, like this is just your life, and then all of a sudden, like you don't really have to change diapers anymore. Like I don't change diapers anymore. The kids are just potty trained, and it just sort of happened all of a sudden.
Or rather, I think a better example of it, and of course, the example that I'm going to give is like not the same as the one that you were talking about, because you were talking about like two small humans who you love, and I'm talking about like a terrible injury I once suffered. But when I broke my foot, like, oh gosh, it was like 8 years ago now.
Oh yeah, that was a minute ago.
I was on crutches for like, and I lived on like a 3rd floor walk-up attic apartment. I was on crutches for like 3 months, and then like had a cane where I still had to like have like a special walking boot for a long time. And like, I knew that eventually I would be able to like walk on my own without all that stuff. But when the time came for me to actually like put down the cane and put the crutches away and no longer wear the boot, like, it was this like beautiful weight lifted off my back.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty wild. So anyways, that's the baby watch. The twins are growing up, and it's real crazy and strange. What, Matt, is our third star of the week?
The third star of the week is okay, actually real quick before I get into this star, because this star is vaguely tangential to it. Did I ever follow up on Westerns Month with you?
No, you did not.
I just couldn't remember if I had ever circled back around it on the show.
No, not in like a substantive way.
Okay, because I watched The Mask of Zorro yesterday, and I was like, well, this doesn't actually count as a Western, really, but it maybe kind of does, because it's
like, yeah, it's in the, you know, it's kind of there. Does that movie hold up? I feel like it probably holds up.
Here's the thing, Dave. It 100% holds up. The Mask of Zorro rules.
Nice. Nice.
Like, there are one or two bits in it that probably, like, if they were making the movie now, those things wouldn't have been put in the movie. But they are not so big of a thing that they like, oh my gosh, this wrecks the movie, that Zorro is like a jerk in this moment, you know?
Yeah, there's one uncomfortable bit that I am thinking about.
Here's the thing that I realized about Zorro, like at the end of the movie when the credits started rolling, is like, oh, this movie was directed by Martin Campbell. That name sounds familiar. I bet I am familiar with other movies of his because the name sounds so familiar. Martin Campbell also directed GoldenEye and Casino Royale.
Oh, dang. Okay. Well,
listen,
yeah, then.
He also did direct the Green Lantern movie, but everybody gets a mulligan, and that's fine. But I was like, man, Martin Campbell... I don't know why Martin Campbell doesn't just have, like, a super hits career of coming in, doing, like, the first movie with, like, a new actor reviving an old character or franchise, and then getting out to go do it again somewhere else. Like, because all three of those, like, GoldenEye, Casino Royale, and Mask of Zorro are all, like, really good and fun. The sword fighting in Mask of Zorro, super, like... At least,
yeah, I'm not going to go look it up right now, but I recall it being very good.
Yeah, it's extremely good. Anthony Hopkins... Okay, is it weird that Anthony Hopkins and Catherine Zeta-Jones are both Welsh and both playing Spaniards? Yes, it is weird. But it's not weirder than Sean Connery playing a Spaniard Egyptian with a Scottish accent in The Highlander.
See, we're not worried about it.
And also, dude... I remember watching that movie when it came out in the theaters and being like, oh, Anthony Hopkins, he's the old man. And I've watched the movie recently. I'm like, oh, he was not that old in this movie.
I was going to say, he's probably like in his 50s or something.
Yeah, like, he was definitely older than Antonio Banderas, but, like, I think I'm currently older than Antonio Banderas was in that movie. Or if not...
I think Antonio Banderas is probably older now than...
Anthony Hopkins was in The Mask of Zorro.
Yeah, thank you. I don't know why I had trouble like looping my brain around those words.
You know what that means,
See,
Dave,
what they need to do, they need to come back.
Get Martin Campbell back, get Antonio Banderas, get Catherine Zeta-Jones. Just do it up. Bring in, because we know that they have a kid, right? There's a kid that they have at the end of The Mask of Zorro.
That's right. Oh my gosh, why is this not already in the works?
And that movie came out in, what, 1996, 7, I think?
You're the one who just watched it, Matt. I do not know.
So that kid
but yeah, that sounds about right.
That kid is now like an early 20s, like Zorro successor.
Perfect.
Very exciting. Should absolutely happen. Hollywood, actually, I was going to say don't call me. Call Martin Campbell.
Yeah, he's the man you need to talk to.
Anyway, also Westerns Month was great. I did not watch as many as I wanted to, but I thoroughly enjoyed everything I got around to. Highly recommend spending some time digging into some classic Westerns. Dave, what is our 4th star of the week?
So our fourth, actually, Matt, real briefly, before we get into our 4th star of the week, Mark, I assume, cut it out, but we had a brief pause just there because I was scratching my leg, and then too late, I noticed that it was a scab, and it was bleeding. I needed to run and get a Band-Aid. That's the gross part. Here's the funny dad part. I did go to the cabinet to get a Band-Aid. I pulled out the only Band-Aids that are in my house, which are Paw Patrol Band-Aids. My children have never seen an episode of Paw Patrol. They just know who Paw Patrol is.
From like a child cultural osmosis.
Yeah, basically. They like the dogs from Paw Patrol. So I am currently wearing a Paw Patrol Band-Aid, but man, I did not grab the first Paw Patrol Band-Aid. I pulled them out of the box, and I did go through to find one of the less desirable dogs. So, like, there's a bunch of Paw Patrol dogs, and some of them are, like, definitely cooler, and some of them are, like, on the lame side. So I currently have I've got, like, a construction dog, which is not one of the ones that they like. And I was putting it on, and I was like, this is a pretty peak dad.
Wait a second.
Peak dad moment.
Of the Paw Patrol dogs, the one that your children don't like is the construction dog.
Matt, don't ask me to explain it.
Okay.
I don't know why.
The reason this shocks me is because in all other facets, your children are obsessed with construction things.
Yep. Yeah, they sure are, Matt. I have no idea why. I don't know that they have put it together. Like, if they had seen the show and knew that this was the dog that, like, was like a truck-oriented dog, they would probably have very different opinions. But as I mentioned, they've never seen the show. So he's a yellow dog and they don't like, I don't know.
All right, whatever.
Anyway, so here's the actual 4th star of the week. Matt, when you and I were kids, we had a game for the Nintendo.
So far this tracks?
Yeah. And it was, I didn't know the name of it. And you were a ninja, and I remember the soundtrack being pretty good, and it was a very early Nintendo game, and you were kind of like jumping around the trees, and you had ninja stars, and you could jump like super, super, super high. Do you remember this game?
The jumping very high, that... Did you get, like, throwing stars that you upgraded to, like, throwing stars that were the size of yourself?
Yes, you did. Okay, so Matt, here's what I need you to do, because I've been trying to figure out what the heck this game was, and I could never figure it out. I swear to you, I had searched like everything that I could think of to try to figure out what this stupid game was called, and in a moment of, I don't know, ethereal clarity, I finally just Google searched early Nintendo ninja game Forest, and the very first thing that pops up was this game. It's called The Legend of Kage. Matt, go to YouTube and just type in Legend of Kage.
You're getting the live reaction right now. Yeah. No, this is 100% that game. Wow, this is a Taito classic. I had forgotten 100% about this game. Oh, it's got a cast Kage, Hero Ninja.
Right? So anyways, I played it on an emulator for a few minutes before we started this. It's a very bad game.
I was going to ask, does it hold up at all?
No, it does not. No, this is a very bad, like, it's an early Nintendo. I mean, I'm sure in like 1986 it was pretty amazing. Like, I remember digging it as a kid, but it is certainly not like, you know, the highlight game of a childhood that I remember it just being like this very cool game. Anyways, I was just so delighted to finally be able to like scratch that itch and know what this stupid game was called. I just needed to talk about it. Matt, what is our fifth?
The thing that I loved about this game that
we're still on Legend of Kage. Very good.
That I am being reminded of now is like you got the jumping through the trees and the climbing and like the throwing stars and all that, and that's all great. The thing that I really remember loving about it is that at least in the first level, and I don't know if I ever saw a second level, it is nighttime, and it is apparently during a thunderstorm because like the background just flashes sometimes.
Yeah,
and I remember
that
being like so like immersive because when the light flashes in the background, that's when you see like the background trees that normally I don't think you can see.
No, you're totally right. You know, as I was thinking on this game just a second ago, as I'm thinking about it, for 1986, pretty cool.
Yeah.
Anyways,
also,
Matt,
I had no idea that the main character was supposed to be a man.
Oh, and I think I did know that because he's got like he's a ninja. If you're a child in 1986 and you're a boy, like all ninjas are automatically boys, so that was fine.
Oh no, I did eventually see a next second level because the second level you're like going through the river and jumping in and out while other ninjas are attacking you. Yeah.
So anyways, Matt, what is our fifth star of the week?
I forget. Hold on, let me close this and look back at my list. Oh, it's Dave. We're currently living in a seltzer revolution, and I'm loving it.
Yeah. And I gotta say, I'm loving it, Matt. I am on board for this.
Went to my fridge earlier today. I was like, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to watch this episode of Super Sentai, but I want to grab a drink first. What do I want to grab? And I saw that I had 3 different types of canned beverages in my refrigerator. I had a LaCroix, which is a standard seltzer water.
Yeah.
I had a White Claw, which is an alcoholic seltzer. And I also had a third drink that is called, and it's spelled dumb, but the drink is called a Focus. Phocus.
This is like a lightly caffeinated but otherwise largely unflavored. It's like a caffeinated LaCroix.
It is exactly a caffeinated LaCroix. 75 milligrams of caffeine from tea specifically. I don't know if it matters that that's where they got the caffeine from. I think if you extract it, it's just caffeine.
I feel like it's probably just caffeine. 75 milligrams. Actually,
it's it's more than you think it is.
I think it's actually a lot less than you think it is. I think a cup of coffee has like 120 milligrams of caffeine.
Yeah, I think it has about the same caffeine as like a similarly sized thing of Coke. Like it's not rocking like, you know, I'm not doing the do over here, but it's not like it's not nothing.
Okay, so sorry, 8 fluid ounces of coffee on average has about 95 milligrams. Now, I generally drink a larger mug than 8 ounces. But, okay, so it's like not even quite a small cup of coffee.
Right. But it just struck me that like, oh my gosh, I've got wake up seltzer, I've got midday seltzer, and I've got party seltzer.
And you've got evening seltzer. Like I said, dude, I am fully on board. And I gotta say, even though I am a person who likes seltzer, when like White Claw came out, I was like, oh my gosh, like, come on, man. Like, do we just live in an entire nation of woo girls now? Like, just have a beer. And then I had a White Claw, and I was like, oh, no.
Yeah, no, I get it now.
I owe some people some apologies.
Dude, they are, all 3 of those options are lovely. Just like low or 0 calorie, lightly flavored fuzzy water. Like, dude, bring it
dude,
on.
I'm 100% here for it.
It's so good.
It's fantastic.
I'm drinking one right now. Drinking a Focus. I don't got work in the morning. I can have a little bit of caffeine after 8.
Well, let's not get crazy, Matt. Let's, all things in their proper place and time.
Dave, I gotta stay up late and play Dead Cells. That's not a star. That's just a game I'm playing this week. We talked about it last week.
Yeah, have you played any of the DLC yet?
No, I'm still trying to play the original the OC.
Anyways, so Matt, I realize
Dave.
I don't have a good transition out of that. Sorry.
That's fine.
Let's cut back to what you were saying.
Okay, well, I was just talking about Seltzer being good. But you know what else is good?
Dang, you're so good at this.
Gekisou Sentai Carranger.
You know what else is good, Matt? Your ability to transition from the stars into the thing. That's what's good.
I feel like I used to be very bad at them, and now they feel more natural, and I don't know when the transition point happened.
Well, you know, man, you just kind of got to do something, and then all of a sudden you don't notice, and it just clicks.
Yeah.
And then you're good. I remember Butterfly Stroke was like that for me back when we were on swim team.
You know,
you can't do it, and you can't do it, and you can't do it, and then just one day you're like, oh, this is how it works, and then you can just do it.
I never got the knack of Butterfly. I really never did. But you know what I did get the knack of, Dave, is transition. So now we're going to be transitioning from the 5 stars into the episode proper. Its original air date was January 10th, 1997. It was written by Hirohisa Soda. You can watch along on the DVDs or on shoutfactory.tv, and we will be right back. Okay, welcome back. So this is episode 44. As you may recall from just a moment ago, before we went to break, I said that the air date of the previous episode, or of this episode, was January 10th. Now, the air date of the previous episode was December 20th, which means that there was actually an off week somewhere in there, right around the holidays, which, makes sense.
Makes sense, yeah.
Now, I want you to keep that in mind as we talk about this episode, because this is a total filler episode right at the end of the season, and I think it's probably because there had been a week off, and they were like, we're not going to dive right back into it. We're going to have a week of, just regular adventure stuff, and then I get the feeling that starting next episode is, the unrelenting march towards the finish.
Yeah, well, this is 44, and this, I think we mentioned this before, but this is a little bit on the short side for a season. There's only 48 episodes of Carranger. So this is 44, and then I think you're right. 40, I think we're probably pretty much in the home stretch here. So this episode, it is kind of a filler episode. It's a good one.
Oh, sure.
But it is kind of a filler episode. It is a New Year's episode, though. So we start off, we're in Barbarian, and for an intergalactic reckless driving tribe, the Bozo do celebrate New Year in a very Japanese way.
I mean, they do a lot of stuff in a very Japanese way, Dave. Listen, Japanese festivals are intergalactically popular. I think that's what we can learn from this show.
It's one of those things that, as a kid, and recognizing that, again, this is a show for children, it 100% makes sense, right? It's New Year's, you want to let the kids know, oh, it's New Year's, so you make New Year's look like the thing that they know that New Year's looks like, because it's a Japanese show for Japanese children. But as an adult, not a Japanese person watching the show, I do really love the conceit that Japanese culture has spread throughout the star. Absent of anything else from Earth, it is just this one culture has made its way to intergalactic popularity. So they're hanging out in the beauty saloon, and Beauty Zanette is wearing a beautiful robe sort of thing, and they're drinking some sake out of these wine boxes, which I actually think has come up on the show previously, because I either recognize them from Sentai or from Japanese woodworking videos. It's a real toss-up.
I mean,
as to
Dave, I love that both of those things are valid venues through which you could have found that piece of information.
They're cool little boxes. So anyways, Emperor Exhaust drops in, and he's a real killjoy. This dude sucks real hard, and he's like, what are you what are you doing? Why are you all hanging out in robes partying?
You're supposed to be running riot. No matter what the date is, you should always be acting like a reckless driving gang. And then I'm like, dude, reckless Dash Emperor Exhaust, what makes you think that hanging around in a bar and drinking is not what biker gangs do? That is famously one of the things that they do.
That's pretty de rigueur, man. And also, like, man, nobody goes hard 24/7. Emperor Exhaust, like, you know, you just can't, right? Like, even Dr. Doom has to have morning coffee or something, right? Like, nobody's evil 24/7. So, and that's basically what President Dynamo says. He's like, dude, it is New Year's. Like, we are just trying to have a good time. Can you please chill out? And he's like...
And also... Like, even if we wanted to go down and mess with Earth, we have been going so hard this whole year against the Carrangers that, like, all of our stuff is broken. Like, all of our cars are broken. Every one of them. We are trying to repair them now, and we cut away to, like, what's that the cockroach guy's name? You know, the cockroach.
Yeah, he's had, like, one or two different names, I think, actually.
We cut to a thing of, like, him in the garage holding a wrench and just, like, poking the cars with it.
Yeah, he has no idea. He's a giant cockroach. He has no idea what he's doing. And there's some wumpers there. And Evil Emperor Exhausty says, "Oh, well, I know the fix for this. You guys need to find the legendary wrench." So already you know this episode is solid gold. And he says, it's an evil wrench. It's like a legendary evil wrench, and specifically in the hands of an evil mechanic. It can instantly repair any car and make any modification. It is a menacing super wrench, and I'm pretty sure I heard that it was on Earth.
Right.
The fact that he has not brought this up before now is wild. Like, if this thing exists and he had an inkling that it was on Earth, I feel like day one to be like, all right, before you clowns do literally anything else, just go find the legendary wrench.
Well, I mean, okay,
and
Dave.
And then, we'll move on from there.
Now, to be fair, Dave, this is one wrench on all of Earth. This is like an ultimate needle in a haystack thing, especially if it doesn't look like anything special when it's not being held by an evil mechanic. If it just looks like one regular wrench on the whole Earth, it's got to be incredibly difficult to find.
Well, Matt, you would think that. It turns out it's not at all. But, so he says, also, I'll give you my own ride. I'll give you a new, a ride so you can get down to Earth. It's the 1997 Exhaustar. And, it's kind of like a Sentai take on the 90s Batmobile.
I was going to say it's a Sentai take on a Death Race 2000 car.
Ooh, okay, yeah. So I think, well, the Batmobile and the Death Race, there's a lot of similarities. So it's like, yeah, it's like a Batmobile Sentai Death Race car.
Yeah.
If that's what helps you picture it. So we go down from there, and we got the Rangers, and they're hanging out, and they're like, oh, this is so peaceful and quiet. Maybe the Bozok are, like, also just chilling out for New Year's. Like, let's go home, we'll have some tangerines, we'll eat some rice cakes, we'll watch some TV. This is going to be great.
All of a sudden, they hear a car, like, sort of swerve off the road. They run over, and it is Signal Man and his Signal family in their Signal station wagon.
I really feel like we needed a little bit more setup for the arrival of, what's their name? Sigue and Sigtaru.
Yeah.
Like this whole, there's been all of this stuff about Signal Man, and he like misses his son, and he's gotta go back, and then he does go back, and then he's like mind controlled with evil vapors, and then he comes back to Earth to like help the Rangers, like this whole big thing. It genuinely did not occur to me that there was an option of just like, oh, just bring them to Earth to be with you. Because if that was an option, why did they not do that?
Right.
Like months ago.
Could have saved everybody a lot of heartache.
Right. But they don't. But they're here now, and they're just hanging out. So
maybe Sigtaru was in school and he's like currently on his holiday break. So they're able to come visit or something.
Okay, I actually like that quite a bit, Matt. I think we should hold on to that. So he's like, listen, I'm super sorry. Like, I was just driving the engine. He's like, oh, also, hello, civilians that I meet like a weird number of times from Pegasus Motors. Like, good to see you again. And he says, I don't know what happened. Obviously, this was not user error. I was just driving along. The engine died, and we just sort of veered off the road and crashed.
Natsumi is like, dude, do not even worry about it. I can fix your car so easily. And she reaches into her vest. And I do want to talk about this vest in a second, Dave. She reaches into this vest and pulls out a single wrench. It is not a adjustable wrench. It is just like
This
wrench.
is the insane thing to me. This is not an adjustable wrench.
It's just a regular, like, crescent wrench? I'm not...
Yes, it is just it's a crescent wrench. So it has two sizes on it.
Yeah. I don't even think it has two sizes. I think it just has, like, the hook end and the loop end. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's got two sizes. Anyway, and she just uses this wrench, and in the course of 5 minutes, or, like 30 seconds in, like, episode time, probably 5 minutes in real time, just fixes the car, no problem, it's good to go. Because I was still assuming that, like, finding the legendary wrench was going to be a lot harder than look in Natsumi's pockets, I did not put together that this was the legendary wrench. I thought this show was just insane.
Yeah, no, I was just like, oh, well, she's just got, like... And even the other Rangers are like, do you just carry a wrench with you all the time? And she's like, yeah. And then a bozo just drives by and snatches it out of her hand. And it's just like, this is it. We found it. This is the legendary wrench. My notes do say in all caps, Matt, wait, does she just have the wrench?
Yes, of course she does. This episode does not have time to go on a grand quest for the wrench. It is grabbed by a bozo whose name is M.M. Shuuriski, right? I think that's
I think
about
so.
it.
It's a funky one, yeah.
And he grabs it, and he is out of there. So Natsumi's like, oh my gosh, that's my special wrench. Runs after, but like she clearly does not know that this is some sort of magical wrench. It's just her like lucky wrench, right?
Yeah.
But then the wrench, now that is being held by an evil person, transforms into the evil wrench, which is just like a big prop, like evil-looking blue wrench.
Yeah, and so this, I'm just Shurisky, M.M. Shurisky, he's got it. And okay, before we get any further into this, I do want to let you down gently, so you won't be as disappointed as I was. I was really hoping that this was going to be kind of an intense mechanic off, and it's not in the sense that I was hoping for it to be. Just to be clear,
yes, it's an exploration of the soul of a mechanic, but there is not like a mechanics competition.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was hoping for. So the Rangers are on it, and Natsumi is like she chases it. She's
chasing after, and she is definitely not chasing after it because it is like this legendary evil wrench.
Yeah,
she's chasing after it because it's important to her, and then we get to see why this wrench is so important to her.
Yes. So here's the deal. She has actually, the fact that she works at Pegasus Motors is not, it turns out, random. It's not like she was just a good mechanic and got hired. She has been showing up to Pegasus Motors to like hang out since she was a child, because it was her dream, like ever since she was a little kid, to be a mechanic, and she would just go to Pegasus Motors and hang out with the head mechanic there, who never has a name aside from Mr. Mechanic, and just sort of like apprentice under this dude.
And the dude, one we're watching in this flashback is Natsumi, child Natsumi walks up, and he's like, listen, like, girls are destined to be like great mechanics, and I will tell you why. It is because cars and people are very much the same.
Yes.
And cars feel pain the way that humans feel pain. And as a good mechanic, a good mechanic, the best mechanics are able to recognize a car's pain so that they can like treat them effectively. And girls naturally have the kindness that is required to like be in sync with the soul of the car to feel its pain.
Yeah, this is incredible. Beth actually sat down just kind of out of nowhere. She has not watched any episodes of Carranger, but she sat down to watch this episode with me. And she said, wow, I'm really torn about this, because on one hand, it's very much opening up the idea that like girls can be great mechanics, but it is doing it in like the most sexist way possible.
Yeah, it's a mixed bag.
So he says, we're still in this thing, and Mr. Mechanic hands her this wrench, and he says, I found this wrench in like an old secondhand shop, and like I've used it for years, and now I will give it to you. And it's like her first tool, you know, like this is the first mechanic's wrench that's her own wrench that she has, and it's like very special. So we go back, and she says, like, it used to be an evil wrench, but, like, it's not, like, anymore, like, it's my wrench. But, like, it is definitely very obviously an evil wrench, so that's a little bit torn.
You know, when she is saying this, I think that she is coming to grips with the fact that it is a magic wrench, because I don't think before this, like, I don't think...
no, she had no idea.
She did not think that this was an evil wrench. I don't even think she thought it was a magic wrench. She just, like, it's... Maybe she thought it was, like lucky in a way that was significant to her, but I don't think she thought there was anything actually supernatural about it.
Yeah.
Although it's a little vague, because in my notes I do write down at this point, is this a magic dancing shoes thing? Because it's kind of a magic ballet shoes thing, right? This episode, a little bit.
Oh, I had a Dumbo magic feather thing, but yeah, like it's definitely, that's kind of the vibe. And so
anyway, we're back in the present. The chase is still ongoing.
Yeah, we do get, it's a very good chase because, Natsumi sort of, he uses the evil mechanic's wrench to sort of like, I guess it can also unfix cars. Like, it can just, break is the word I'm looking for. It can, like, destroy or repair cars. So he just sort of, like, reaches out and knocks a wheel off of her yellow racer car. And so she's sort of sidelined. And then Dragon Cruiser and Pegasus Thunder roll up. And they're sort of in the chase. And Natsumi, like, kind of jump. She unhensions for some reason. I'm not really sure why. And then when she gets back in the car, she still is not henshin. So it's just the 4 Rangers and Natsumi in the Rangers car. I
mean, insofar as this is a TV show, I think the excuse is like she kind of got rattled when her car spun out and that caused her to unhenshin, and then they were going into a scene where she was going to be doing a lot of dialogue and they thought it looked better without a helmet on.
Yeah, I mean, okay, that's fair. So what's this dude's weird name again? Shuurski. Shuurski. He, it's actually a very cool chase scene because he is modifying his car on the fly. So, like, they're right behind him, and he does, like, a smoke screen, and they're like, dude, like, have a little, right. Like, they're offended.
Right, like, this is episode 44. You have to take us more seriously than that.
Which is great. So they did that, and then he's like, all right, fine. So he does, like, a razor blade attack, so that's pretty cool. No, bazookas. Sorry, bazookas are next. And the bazookas they're
able to avoid the bazookas pretty easily.
Yeah.
Then he brings it, he's like, okay, and he brings out this, like, saw blade thing where it shoots out, like, these energy saw blades at them.
Yeah, it's like the Ninja Turtles pizza shooter. If that's ringing any bells.
Yeah, it's very much like a Ninja Turtles pizza shooter.
Yeah.
When this happens, Pegasus Thunder is like, cool, well, I have a flying mode, so I'm just going to fly away from this stuff. Dragon Cruiser, however, does not have a flight mode and gets nailed with it and sort of like spins out.
Yeah. So, the engine won't start. They all hop out of the car. And they're like, okay, like, Natsumi, like, this is very definitely your department. Like, can you kind of handle this? And she says, I need my wrench. Like, no, I can't. And this is like the magic feather dancing shoes sort of thing. She's like, I need the wrench. Because, of course, she does not know that it's only a magic wrench if you're evil. So for her, it's only ever been just, like, it's not a magic wrench as far as Natsumi is concerned. Like, the magic doesn't work for her. You know, it's like class delimited, or it's alignment delimited. Like, she's not evil. She can't attune to the magic item.
Right, it's just a wrench, but she's, like, totally rattled by this.
Yes.
Anyway, so go to commercial, cut back. The flight mode that Pegasus Thunder had been using to escape is immediately disabled when Shurisky shoots a missile at it and knocks it out of the sky. And it lands, and it's still able to drive okay, but it can't take off again. So now it's just stuck trying to drive away from the... What was that car called? The 1997 Exhaust Star.
Yes. So now we're in a chase scene, and then Zelmoda gets in the mix, and they've got kind of a chicken game, right? Where the Shurisky is behind them, and Zelmoda's in front of them, and the Rangers are just sort of driving in the middle, and, what are we going to do?
What are we going to do, Dave?
We're doing it, yeah.
They're in terrible danger.
So we get, it actually turns out to be fine. Like, the Rangers just drive by Zelmoda.
Yeah, like, they're still in danger, but they're not just, like, smushed between two cards.
And then a wild thing happens, which is they drive to a quarry. And that doesn't seem like it would be crazy, but, Matt, I sort of didn't realize until I saw a quarry. There have not really been a lot of quarries in this season.
At least not in the back half of the season. In the early part of the season, I do remember there were at least a handful of quarry episodes.
Yeah, I mean, you got to get in some, but like...
But
they really have not featured heavily.
It has been a while, I think, since we've gotten a good Quarry episode.
Yeah, and it was like a very weird moment, because like I saw the Quarry, and it was, you know what it was? It's like, when you've got like a really bad headache, and all you can focus on is the headache, and then you take some medicine, and then like 25 minutes later, once the medicine kicks in, all of a sudden you realize, you're like, oh, like my headache is gone. Mm-hmm. It was sort of like that. Like, there aren't any oh my gosh, there haven't been any quarries. It was just a really weird moment. But now we're back. We're back to the status quo. But now it feels good, right? We took a long break, and now I feel like I'm ready to engage with quarries again.
Right. They didn't let that field life fallow for a little bit.
Yeah. So we're back to Natsumi, and again, she is just she's got the hood open on Dragon Cruiser, and she's kind of staring hopelessly at the engine because she's just shattered. Like, I feel bad for her. She's really pulling it off here. And the guys are like, they get a call
when you say she's really pulling it off, you mean the actress playing Natsumi is doing
sorry,
a great job.
Thank you. She's doing a great job of selling this. The guys get a call on their power bracers or Excel bracers, and they're like, okay, Natsumi, like, we totally trust that you've got this. Like, but we have to go. Like, we are going to go help the rest of the team. We have total faith in you. Like, you can do this, but you do need to do it because, like, things are breaking bad pretty hard over here.
Right. Because it's cutting back and forth between her trying to do this and then Pegasus Thunder trying to escape. At some point, they get a little breathing room because while Zelmoda and Shurisky have both been attacking Pegasus Thunder, eventually Signalman shows up in his station wagon with his family, and he shoots he pulls up behind him. He's like, "Hey, you guys are all driving recklessly," and he shoots at Zelmoda, and like one shot from his pistol breaks Zelmoda's car. So like, I guess they had been able to fix it, kind of. But, like, just enough to get it back on the road, and now that Signalman has shot it with one single laser, he is, like, he has to go back to space. But before Signalman is able to take out Shurisky, like, I think another missile gets launched, and he has to swerve off to the side of the road to avoid being hit, and then, since Natsumi's not there to fix it, he's sort of out of the fight.
Yes. So we go back from there, and Dragon Cruiser is like, Natsumi's just standing there and the guys have left, and Dragon Cruiser sort of like the lights flash a little bit and it just sort of like jerkily starts rolling after the guys, even though it's really damaged. And Natsumi is like so... Like, she's so overcome by this. She's like, oh my gosh, Dragon Cruiser.
The engine is sparking, like smoke is pouring out everywhere.
This is a real Johnny Five moment.
It is a real Johnny Five moment.
Yeah.
From Short Circuit.
Right. And so And so she's just like, she's overwhelmed by this. Like, oh my gosh, it so wants to, to go join the fight. Like, I need to do this. And so she sort of remembers her mentor. And then she runs up and she pleads with Dragon Cruiser. She's like, no, Dragon Cruiser, stop. Like, don't, like, stop where you are. I'm so sorry that I haven't felt your pain. Like, I have not been empathetic enough
to you
to
in a
your
live
pain.
car.
Right, to you, a living dragon car from space. And now I'm like back in the zone and I do feel it. And now I can repair you.
Even
and she
without
sort of
the magic of my non-magic wrench that is actually magic, just not for me.
She has another wrench. She's just got like a regular,
Yeah.
like an adjustable hex wrench.
Dave, can I really quick interrupt and say something else about Natsumi in this episode?
For sure.
I don't know if this is the first episode we've seen her wearing this outfit. I don't think it is. I think this has maybe been her like last quarter.
I believe
of the season,
that's correct.
Outfit. But I think that with her costume change, we have officially moved from the early 90s to the late 90s. Like, if you look at what she is wearing, it is like she's got a...
It's like a black, pleathery, zippered vest with some
like
zippered
a couple
pockets.
of extra zippered pockets. Like this, like these brown leather, like boot cut... like slim leg, but boot cut, almost bell bottomy things, and
a red ribbed turtleneck.
a red orange ribbed turtleneck sweater, and like the whole thing together, I was just like, oh my gosh, like this is that sort of proto year 2000 fashion that so defined, like, or, like this is at least like an expression of something that I just remember from this era.
Yeah, like very, very clearly.
And like, the beginning of this season, and especially like in previous seasons, like it was very clearly like early to mid 90s.
And this is now.
And also her hair, I feel like, I don't know what it is about. It might just be seeing her haircut next to that outfit. But
I think it's the outfit because her hair has not changed.
But like, man, maybe her hair was just like primed and ready to go for this outfit change, because it like this just looked like something out of the trailer to like the mid 90s like Charlie's Angels movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. So we go from there. We get this sort of like repair fight montage, right? So like we're bouncing back and forth between Natsumi working on Dragon Cruiser and Pegasus Thunder in the fight. Pegasus Thunder is on fire for a second there, and then the Rangers are about to be run down. Then riding in from the sunset, Dragon Cruiser is back in the fight.
It's that great shot where the hero comes in through like this sort of like the hazy like heat
right, the
waves.
shimmery haze of it's great. So it's not, and this is I think a very cool moment because it's not the Yellow Racer, it's Natsumi. Like she has not henshined yet.
Yeah,
like she's just in this fight as herself, like as not as the Yellow Racer, as the chief mechanic of Pegasus Motors, who has like repaired this car and is now, coming to save the day. It's a very cool moment. So then we have a great piece of stunt work. So she's driving alongside the 1997 Exhaust Star. They're kind of bumping back and forth. She's furious. She's like, "You're bad, and you took my wrench." She like henshins in the car, and then jumps over to the hood of the Bozoke, the Exhaust Star, and then there's like a big fight on the hood of this car. It's great.
Yeah, it's really good stunt work because, like, they definitely are on the hood of a moving car. Like, the camera is sort of angled such that, like, that car might be, like, being dragged on a dolly or on a track or something, but it looks great.
Yeah, it's super, super cool. And then she basically, like, she manages to, like, get the wrench, and she, like, jumps off the car, and then they sort of, like, loop around, and they're like, "We'll get you," and she's like, "You definitely won't." She just, like, holsters the wrench, which is still evil, and then just does a Navic blaster and explodes their car.
I do love that, like, the whole time before she showed up, because, like, they were also trying to blast that car with lasers, and I'm sure that they were hitting it, but the impression that I get from this scene is that that car has, like, 2 hit points, right? And, like, the heroes would hit it once, and then he would, like, real quick repair it with his magic wrench, so they could never actually beat it. But now that the wrench is taken away, like, all she needs to do is take out that last hit point, and it just blows up immediately.
I hadn't even thought.
Because otherwise, there's no excuse for, like, them shooting it forever and then her killing it with one blast.
So it's a good wrench again. She's a Yale racer, but now it's a good wrench again, and that's very cool. And then we get the shortest giant fight I think we've ever seen. Like, we don't even see this dude eat the Emo Yokon. They're just hanging out, and they're like, hey, like, great job, Yellow Racer, like, well done. And then we just sort of pan over, and he just goes, I'm giant now. And then Natsumi calls VRV Robo. They do, like, a real quick combination. They sort of, like, hip toss the monster and then finishing shot. It's over in less than 30 seconds.
There's a brief moment where, like, he tries to hit them with a wrench, and they grab the wrench out of his hand and tweak his ear with it, and then knock him over, and then murder him with guns.
It's like, I almost missed it because I blinked. So anyways, and then that's kind of, we're in the end thing here. All the cars are fixed. All the cars are okay now, which is great. Natsumi's fixed them all. And Dragon Cruiser, which has up to now kind of been Naoki's, like, car buddy, likes Natsumi more now.
Right.
He's sort of warmed up to Natsumi.
He ditches Naoki and Minoru and, like, rolls over to hang out with Natsumi, and everyone kind of laughs at the other two.
Yeah. And then we get a shot of just Natsumi alone in Dragon Cruiser, and she's like, thanks, Dragon Cruiser, for, like, reminding me about what it means to have the heart of a mechanic.
And then the episode is over without ever telling us how they, like, what the deal is with her mentor or how he ended up with that wrench. I mean,
I would really, if we were not so close to the end of the season, I would assume that they were going to loop back and explain that in some way, and I really did not think they are ever going to.
No, it's absolutely not going to happen. But I really thought it was going to. I thought that, like, when we got to the halfway point in this episode, what I assumed was going to happen is that mechanic was going to come back and, like, explain that he was an a guy who quit the Bozoke years ago and had been hiding on Earth and had, like, brought the wrench with him, and that he gave it to her for safekeeping, but that it was never actually magic for her. It was just her believing in it that did it. Like, that sort of, that whole arc could have
right, like
very
that,
easily
something
happened,
like that.
and
yeah.
it just didn't. So we have to assume then that he was just a guy who randomly bought that wrench in a secondhand shop and decided one day to hand it to Natsumi, who later became the Yellow Racer, all completely coincidentally. Which, I mean, whatever, is fine, but that is not what I was expecting.
Yeah. I really was expecting there to be quite a bit more explanation there.
So that's the end of the episode, David. Of course, it's not the end of our episode, because first we need to scroll down near the bottom of this list and figure out where Shuriski ends up.
So, man, I feel a little bit weird, because I feel like we keep kind of tossing a lot of these monsters down. Now, I know there are some monsters that have made it into top tier from this show, but I feel like a lot of the monsters from this season have not been super great.
Well, it's the thing is that, Dave, that's not our fault. We're just writing the ones with the list.
Yeah. So I feel okay. So he doesn't have a super cool look. I like the idea that he is their best mechanic. I feel like they could have done more with that, but like a lot of monsters in this season, he is mostly just there to be the dude with the wrench. Like, they really could have just given the wrench to, like, Inventor Granch or even Zelmoda, and this dude could have not existed, and the episode would have been functionally the same.
Because the thing about the wrench is that the wrench in the hands of someone evil can repair anything or make any modification. You don't have to be a good mechanic to do those things. It's a magic wrench. They shouldn't have sent him down at all. They should have sent the cockroach down and left that guy on Barbarian to actually fix the other cars.
So that actually would have been much better. I would have liked to have seen the cockroach with this magic wrench.
Like, this dude being the guy who they sent down was the worst possible thing they could have done. And that, I think, is part of the reason why I'm thinking so low, is like, it was a waste of a dude, and he's just not super memorable.
Yeah, he isn't. So down near the bottom, so I was actually about to say that, like, the bottom 10 is 20% from this show, but that this is 20, they're 20%, like, this is the 5th season, so 20% is right in line. But out of the top 12, or the bottom 12, I guess, 4 of them are from this season. So there's just a lot of, like, low monsters here. So down at the bottom is MM Mogu, Yu Yu Warren, and Cici Pachone. I like Cici Pachone. I actually like all of those dudes better than this guy. Cici Pachone at least had, like, I don't know, like, I'm remembering how he said his name. Like, he had some kind of personality.
The problem when we get to this bottom part of the list is that, like, a lot of times when they get to the reason they're at the bottom of the list is because they are not super memorable. So as we are talking about them, I have to, like, Google all of these people, like, okay, who on
like,
earth
who
is
the heck
Cici
is this
Pachone?
guy? Right. So I guess I like this dude a little bit. No, I guess I like him better. No, Cici Pachone was like, he had some, like, weird creep factor. I don't remember what it was, but he's kind of a jerk.
Oh, he was the bad guy in the episode with the little, like, fur ball thing that ate concrete.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I think I actually like this guy. I think him better.
I think he might have ranked that lowly because of, like, cruelty to animals, maybe?
That, I don't know, that kind of sounds like us. I like him better than I like MM Mogu. Cherry Blossom Viscount was a weird, forgettable monster, but when we forgot about him and then I looked him up and now I kind of remember him, and he at least had kind of a cool look.
Oh, yeah, like,
which this dude does not even have.
I don't remember almost anything about him except for how he looks, and Cherry Blossom Viscount looks cool.
So I think above MM Mogu and below Cherry Blossom Viscount, and that's the new spot 170.
Okay. Well, like I said, we're closing in on the end of this series, and so maybe we'll get another good 1 or 2 monsters, and if nothing else, soon we get to rank the Bozo, like, top people themselves in our wrap-up episode, and those dudes, I think, are going to rank, or at least some of them, pretty highly.
Yeah, pretty highly, definitely.
But that, Dave, now is the end of this episode. Is it not?
Yeah, it is. It is. Yes.
Okay, just wanted to double check. Before we finish up here, we'd like to remind you all that you can email the show at supersentaibrothers@gmail.com. You want to get any updates on future episodes or check out the things that we're talking about on Twitter, we are at Super Sentai Bros. Dave, if the good people would like to get a hold of you to get in on the playtest for Go Sentai Heroes, your tabletop role-playing game, how would they do that?
Matt, they can just email me at GoSentaiHeroes, that's all one word, at gmail.com, and I will get the rules out to you and put you on the update for any future playtests we put out. And I've gotten some feedback from people, which has been super rad. If you have gotten the rules, if you've gotten a chance to play it, I'm super looking forward to hearing from you.
Right on. Another thing that we would look forward to is, hey, you might have heard that shining in the iTunes review section, there are 5 stars. If you would like to rate review on there, 5 stars, that would be lovely of you. Also, if you would tell a friend that you think would like this show, that would be doubly lovely of you. I can't think of a thing that would be triply lovely of you, but I'm sure that you can think of something that would make you feel good. So just do that, and then assume that that is what I meant. Okay. It's the end of the show, guys. I'm not taking any more takes on any of this. The Super Sentai Brothers are a production of Retrograde Orbit Radio. To listen to any of the other great Retrograde Orbit Radio shows, you can find them all at retrogradeorbitradio.com. Once again, we are the Super Sentai Brothers. I'm Matt.
I'm Dave.
And we'll see you next week for the greatest show on Earth.